Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the author webinar launch series for Going Against the Grain. Yay! We're here today to celebrate this magnificent book with wonderful trailblazers in it. And this book is so much more than a book. It's a project, it's everything. And I'm going to invite the wonderful Kathy Demarcus, who is the leader in this book and has brought all of the amazing people together in this book, of which I am one. I was like, please, can I be part of this? Because going against the grain is a really amazing thing that some people with courage do, because quite often you're going against convention. So I'm going to welcome down the amazing Kathy Demarcus, who's going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit more about the Raise the Baseline project and why each of these women who are in this book are a perfect fit. Welcome down, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you. It is an absolute pleasure, but more importantly, I do actually want to acknowledge each of the women who have contributed to this book. My journey in actually thinking about who might really, I guess, be an integral part of this was more than just about a story. It was really about finding people within my inner circle where values aligned. And each of you have crossed my paths for a reason across different stages of my life. But from a values perspective, you know, you are so in sync. And so the whole philosophy behind the book not only is about going against the grain and being authentic and doing things differently and inspiring others, but also about Raise the Baseline project, you know, which is about developing future leaders across the globe, particularly in developing nations. And so the projects currently are running out of Tanzania. They're actually starting with young kids, as young as 12, you know, going all the way through to entrepreneurs. And I can't tell you the joy that actually comes from seeing these kids who actually have gone through the program just light up. Like some of the stories, not only just for, you know, from them and their experiences, but from their parents who go, what's happened? Like they're not normally like this. What did you do? And all it is that they were given the opportunity to have a voice, to think differently, to actually be amongst other people, other young kids who actually had the courage to go, I didn't think about that, or yes, I agree. And finally, they're finding their place in the world. And so that's what this is all about, you know, getting people and young kids to think about how they can create an impact in the world themselves, you know, as they actually become adults, as they transition through life in school. And so, yes, there is so many layers to this book. And honestly, it is an absolute privilege to have each of you be part of this. And I am eternally grateful. And I can't wait for what is actually going to happen, you know, as we actually continue to spread the word. So thank you.
Absolutely. And when you've got such amazing people behind the book who you actually invited into the book, didn't you? You selected and handpicked the people that you were going to bring together in this book. So that makes, well, apart from me, because I hijacked it.
Well, you know, honestly, but yes, I did hand select everybody. But with you, Karen, you know, it wasn't that I didn't think that this was you. It was that I just didn't think that you would want to be part of it because you've just got so much on, and you've written so many books. And I thought, oh God, I wouldn't want to burden her. That was the reason why I just didn't extend, you know, that invitation. So,
oh, it's so funny. It's so funny. But yeah, going against the grain is how I have navigated life. So that's why it's important. And so thank you so much. And we're going to have a link straight to the Raise the Baseline project where you can learn a lot more about it and all of the amazing work that Kathy and the team are doing over in Tanzania for future leaders. And, you know, it's back to that again. You can have an impact with one person, but that ripples out to so many more people. So it's amazing the work that you're doing. So congratulations, Kathy.
No, thank you. It's a collective effort, let me tell you.
And we'll be learning a little bit more about you and your story shortly as well, because I'm going to be interviewing you. So thank you so much. I'm going to invite down Oksana. Come down, Oksana, and join me on the stage. How are you going?
Karen, how are you?
I'm
I'm
really
fine. How are you?
I am really good. Can you tell everyone where you are joining us from and what you do?
Sure. So I am joining everyone from New York City, and I am a management consultant, managing director of a large consulting firm called Accenture, and we do broad-based consulting and outsourcing services.
Oh, amazing. I love the accent. We just love the accent. So thank you so much. What time is it there with you?
When we say you have an accent, but that's okay. I know we all have accents at the end of the day.
We do. Mine's a bit mixed from being places, but however.
Sounds like it. Sounds like yours is a little Irish.
Yeah, I'm Irish. Absolutely.
Okay.
And I've been in Australia for 13 years, but the accent isn't going anywhere.
That's a lovely accent.
Thank you. What time is it with you?
It's 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Very good.
So
Yesterday.
it's in the evening.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for us
Yep,
here,
it's on
like
Sunday night.
Yeah, Monday morning. Amazing, beautiful. Can I ask you, Oksana, did you ever think that you would be a co-author of a book?
Well, likely not. I have had the opportunity through my job with Accenture to write a number of white papers that have been published. And I have been tooling around with telling my parents' life story because they have a very interesting background on their own. But when Kathy mentioned this book, I just thought to myself, well, if one day I want to write my parents' story, why don't I start with my own? So I said, sure, let's do it. But other than that, Karen, no, I really never thought that I would write a book, at least about my own life story. So this was a great opportunity for me.
Isn't it that? It's just dipping your toe in the water of publishing, getting to know the process and how to get your story out there. I am intrigued, though, about your parents' story. So, yeah, I look forward to hearing more about that. And when it calls to be written, you won't be able to ignore it. So, how fabulous.
Thank you.
What are one or two things you can share about your chapter without giving it all away, but just to give everyone a little taste of what you shared?
Absolutely. So, I mean, my story is very much the daughter of an immigrant story, really feeling kind of caught between two separate cultures. So Ukrainian culture and American culture, and not really feeling that I belonged. And so my story is really about my journey of discovering myself. And that journey literally took me around the world through work, which was great. And what I ended up discovering is really my values, who I am, is very much a hybrid of both of those cultures. It makes me who I am, it makes me very unique, and it makes me successful. And not only that, but it allows me to do things with my life and work, like connect dots in new and unique ways, to be able to connect with other people who are very diverse. So this way I can, create some high-powered teams that have, diversity of thought and diversity of background. And it also has helped me to mentor other people, especially women, which I find very important to me. And that's a little bit about my story.
Oh, and it's a story that a lot of people can resonate with, isn't it? That sense of belonging. And when you are moved out of one environment and into another and just trying to find, amazing. And your story is very impactful. I'm not going to give it away. Let everyone read it. Don't forget, guys, Going Against the Grain is available everywhere. And what message would you like to share with women and young people who are still finding their way in life and career, Oksana?
Well, I would definitely say it's not too late. I mean, Karen, I just look at myself, and I waited until I was 48 to have a child. And so I'm definitely not one to throw daggers to say that you have to do everything early in life. It's really about doing things at your own time and within your own pace and within your own journey. I mean, I live in New York City, one of the most competitive cities in the world. And you can spend your days looking at others and saying, this person's smarter than I am, this person's better, this other person, has more money, but it's really about yourself and what you do. I mean, I used to run a lot, long distance running, and I think of life as a marathon, and that it's not a competition about other people, because we are all unique. I mean, in one way or another, we've all gone against the grain, either our entire life or at different times. And it's important not to compete with others. What's really important is to compete with yourself and do your best. And that's what running is like and what a marathon is like. You're really competing against the clock. You're competing to do better for yourself day in and day out. And that's what I would say to the young people out there is take your time, find yourself, don't just copy others, and don't compete with others, because you're going to find your unique spot in life that's going to make you successful in who you are.
Oh, wow. Like that is just, the endurance. Isn't it amazing? Oksana, and huge congratulations to you on the birth of your child. Amazing. Even as we go against the grain. I was a young mom. I've been a mom since I was 19 and have 6 children. So I've always been, but you can still be successful, and it's about your definition of success. Can I ask you about that? I know I'm throwing this to you left wing. What do you think about your definition of success?
My definition of success is being happy with who you are and what you're doing every day, and having people around you that you love and love you back. It is not about the money, it is not about, being on television every day. Like, it's really about being in a good place within yourself and feeling like you accomplished what you wanted to do throughout your life, and you're surrounded by people who love you and that you can support and will support you. That to me is the measure of success.
Amazing. Wonderful. So how did you get involved in going against the grain, Oksana? Like we talked about it yesterday. Did Kathy pin you down and twist your arm and not let you say no?
Thankfully, no. I did have the pleasure of meeting Kathy. I mean, this is all Kathy's doing. And I had the pleasure of meeting her years ago on a safari in Uganda. And she and I just really clicked and hit it off and became great friends and share the same values. And, I visited her in Sydney. She's come and visited me in New York. And she asked me if I wanted to write a chapter in her book. She told me what it was about. It felt like it was something that was, very similar to my life and something that I could contribute to. And I knew about all the great work she was doing in Tanzania. So I loved that it was the proceeds would help, her project. And so it just really aligned, our interests aligned.
Amazing. Beautiful. Oksana, it is wonderful to get to know you more, and I look forward to getting to know you more in the future. And thank you so much for joining me on stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I look forward to getting to know you better as well. And thanks for having me.
Take care. I'm going to invite the wonderful Gabby Lampkin. Are you there, Gabby?
Hi, I'm here.
There you are. Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
Gabby, can you share with everyone where you're joining us from and a little bit about what you do?
Well, I'm in Brisbane in Queensland, obviously Australia. And so the last 20 years, I've pretty much spent most of my time in health and wellness roles. And I've also supported and built 3 small businesses. So it's been a bit of a combination of both. And then around 10 years ago, I started diving into the space of spirituality. And it was more out of interest but also out of just more on a space of treatment, I suppose, and working out. I was going through that midlife type crisis, people can most identify in. And so that's where I ended up diving into that space. And so where I am today is starting to combine the two, and about to move into the space as a business and career coach, but having astrology supporting that mode.
You are definitely going against the grain in what you do.
Very much so.
I love it. I love it. But did you ever think you would co-author a book?
It is interesting. I would have, if you had asked me that question 8 years ago, would have gone absolutely no way. However, for anyone who has any knowledge of astrology, astrology is essentially, it's like a map, and it's a map of the planetary movements and the effects of the planetary movements that it has on us here on Earth. And when we are born, we're taken a snapshot of where those planets are, and that comes out onto a chart. And that essentially is the energy that you come into this lifetime with. And it wasn't until I started learning more about my archetype that I actually see there was potential in there that, yes, I could write, and yes, I could speak. And it was a matter of whether I was prepared to do the work and to bring those potentials out. So yes is probably the answer. I would say from 2 weeks ago, yes, I now believe that, yes, it's possible and can be part of a book and even write my own in the future.
Yeah. Amazing. It's fascinating, isn't it? And it's a world that you can just get lost in, and the knowledge is power in that space, and the energetic vibrations and things. It's amazing. And I absolutely loved reading your story. It's just fascinating and full of, you gift us with so much information. It's amazing.
I'm not short of saying things, yeah.
You'd have a book out in no time. Gabby, what are 1 or 2 things that you can share with us from your chapter to give us a bit of an insight?
I think Oksana touched on this as well, is the fact that we all go through different, we're all experiencing a different journey, and we all get to shine at different phases in our life. And I share in the book the fact of, we all come into this life as a seed, and that seed, if nourished, starts to grow and expand and come out like a tree. And at different phases of your life, depending on when that is, your fruit starts to come and bear. And so we need to acknowledge that everyone will start to bear their fruit at different stages of their life, depending what cycles they're going on in life. And it is again being surrounded by the right people and the right energy to be able to bear that fruit. So that I talk quite a bit about that in the piece in the book.
Yeah, you do, and you give us the knowledge and how we can do that for ourselves. It's amazing and wonderful. What message would you like to share with women and young people about finding their way in life and career, Gabby?
There's probably a lot I'd like to say, but essentially we're going through a massive transformation now, as everyone is experiencing. And it is affecting everyone in many, many different ways. And for the moment, that the transformation as we're about to move into is actually into the age of Aquarius. It's very Aquarian energy. And it's just so fitting that this book, that Kathy has brought us all together, because this book is all about Aquarian energy. It's very different. It's off the cuff. It's unusual, quirky energy. It's innovative. It comes up with new ideas, very community minded. And so it's about thinking outside of the box and allowing yourself the freedom to be able to share your unique talents, but with not just for yourself, but with the community and earth in mind. So it's very Aquarian energy that we're moving into. And whilst we're going through this transition of innovation, technology, upgrades with everything, we've just got to learn to just come into our breath, because as an Aquarian energy is very much in its air energy, it's very much in the brain, it's thinking. We need to come more into breath, into being and being conscious. And this period in the next few years is moving into higher consciousness. So it's sitting above yourself and being very aware, not just of your space now, but sort of stepping above that realm and thinking outside of the box. So breath actually helps you bring yourself into body, and helps allow you to be safe. So that's probably the major tip for the moment. But going forward, I'm really excited for what's to happen. We just need to allow things and be flexible and let things occur, because what will be, and to also keep our vibration high and be positive, because it's love and light at the moment. That's where things will really shine for us. And for those that are merging, particularly, I've got kids in my teens merging into, the space of work. and encourage and bring that love and support that we've got, not just with family, but surround yourself people around that have a good vibration in the direction that you're wanting to go.
I just want to take a deep breath, just like, just in that moment, just stop and take a breath. It centers you. And that's why it's important to share stories now. We need people sharing stories of positive, hope-fueled stories to help others move forward with love and light. I absolutely, believe in that. So how did you get involved in going against the grain, Gabby?
I met Kathy actually through, it was before the COVID storm hit that I actually launched a new business. And obviously the storm had hit and I was looking for support and connection. And I joined a women's business group, and it was in that online women's business group that I met Kathy. And Kathy headed up a small goals group that I was part of. And I nicknamed her my mama bear because she had just this supporting, nurturing, knowledgeable, authentic space. And it was here that I met Kathy and explored the idea of bringing astrology into business and how the effects of how you can work with the cycles of the planets in our business and career. And that's how I met Kathy.
Yeah, amazing. And of course you had to be in this book. I have had the joy of getting one of your Kathy gifted me one of your I have it and I go through it, and I'm actually going to revisit it again. And can you share with everyone that what you provide, because I think it's it's important for people to know that what you can get on an individual basis from you.
So I'm launching in March my business called Zodiana Coaching. And there's two major factors to it. It's essentially for people in business, but also wanting to navigate where they're wanting to go in their career going forward, particularly with all this, the changes that are going on at the moment. And so I look at initially, people can look at having their chart created and a report given. So for those who are very analytical and love the detail and like to have something to refer back to. But I'm also going to be working with people in a coaching form, because I believe for any future leaders going forward, having a mentor or a coach to help find and bring out the potentials that each of us have is really important, because often we don't know what we're really good at, and working with someone to actually challenge you but also work with you on your path to highlight where you can really benefit, not just for yourself, but for others. Because remember, going forward, it's all about connecting with community and humanitarian ideals. So that's, in a nutshell, what I will be offering.
Wonderful, amazing. Bring on March. Hey, guys. Thank you so much, Gabby. It has been so wonderful getting to know you more. I'm sure everyone has really enjoyed it. And thank you for all of the work that you do. Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to invite the lady herself, Kathy Demarcus, to come down for an interview. Come down, Kathy.
Hello.
Hello. So I'm not going to ask you, did you think you would be a co-author of a book? Because I know you're already an author of a book we've published together, Same People, Different Vision. And Going Against the Grain was the idea of that, and it went into motion around the same time. So they're both born into the same energy. Yeah. So can you share with us, kind of your vision for Going Against the Grain?
Really going against the grain, is firstly, I have a huge belief around our future generation and the fact that they want to do things differently. So I shared in my TEDx talk that I did that, by 2040, I believe that most millennials will actually be self-employed in some capacity. And so this was really actually also birthing the message to them to have the courage and to actually step forward. And interestingly, before COVID hit, I was actually talking nationally, and it was about having choice, being actually a bit more accepting, looking at the differences. And Oksana actually touched on that, in respect to the diversity piece. But going against the grain is really actually encouraging people and giving them, I guess, permission, you know, from everybody, because everybody in this book has actually got a different story, that they can just be who they are. So being your authentic self, it doesn't matter what policy says, ask the question, can it be done differently? Is there a better way? Will it serve people better if we do things slightly differently, as opposed to what has actually been done, you know, through, I guess, history. And so, yes, it is all about that. But then the philosophy behind that is to actually look at how we can also pay things forward. So I'm a really big believer in, you know, a growth mindset is great. And that's actually about going against the grain. But we add to that with an entrepreneurial mindset. So irrespective of what choices you have from a career perspective, even if you're going to remain as an employee, having an entrepreneurial mindset is actually going to enable you to think differently. You will actually apply that second and third order thinking and have that critical thinking apply. You're prepared to take risks. You're prepared to actually look at failings and actually rejoice in the failings, because you're going to take something away. You know, that's how innovation happens. So there's so much to this book. And of course, all the proceeds then going to raise the baseline then actually adds another layer. And so we continue to just keep creating that ripple effect and making sure that people actually recognize that community is global. And it's not just about our people in the inner circle, but it's about somebody who we may not even know, and making sure that we share knowledge. You know, when we share knowledge, that then means that those who are actually perhaps in a less privileged position can actually elevate the position in where they're actually going to start life. And so again, it feeds into the raise the baseline philosophies and I guess who we are as people. I think everybody actually shares that. That's actually a co-author in this book.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. And it is absolutely that. We don't accumulate knowledge to lock it in a vault and just access it whenever we want. We are actually supposed to share our findings with each other so that we can all grow and rise each other up, because there's enough room for everyone in this world, and everyone who's living, you know, their best. And I think inspired leadership, which is the way forward, you know, inspired leaders and embrace going against the grain and thinking outside the box and finding solutions that may not have been seen before. So it's amazing and exciting. It's exciting as well.
Yeah.
Kathy, can I ask you to share one or two insights into the story you share in the book?
You know, I think firstly it is the fact that I didn't realize that I did go against the grain. It was only through writing the process, and, you know, I only looked at things, little pinnacle things in my life, and reflected on that and thought, oh yeah, I did that differently. But as I began to write, I realized that my entire life has actually been going against the grain. I think I shared yesterday, you know, I'm a first generation migrant. And for me, even when I look at, you know, my older sibling, there's so many things that we are so different, you know, with. And so it's actually just, I guess, pausing, like everybody has shared this morning, to actually reflect at what's important for you and being true to that and stepping into that, as opposed to holding back, you know, for fear of being judged. Because I think that's the one thing that when you're different, or when you have a different opinion, especially when you're amongst friends or you're around a boardroom table where everyone's going, no, we've got to do it this way, this way, this way. And you're thinking, well, actually, there's another way. It's to have that voice to say, no, can we actually just stop and have a conversation around this? And it doesn't mean that we all have to agree. That's the other thing. But just to give everybody permission to have an opinion and to be heard. And I think that's also important. And, you know, going against the grain actually enables that, or encourages that. And, you know, Nikki will actually come on, and I'm sure she's going to be able to share with you, you know, from a policy perspective, you know, she continuously comes up against roadblocks. And, you know, I'm sure Oksana has seen it, particularly, you know, working in large corporate, that things are done with rigor. And so we naturally feel that we have to continue down a path. But today is the day where you actually say, no, let's pause and think about what else.
Mhm. Absolutely. And it's exciting, isn't it? And it takes a little courage, but you get the rewards from it, because you're not going against your values. Whenever you have that nagging go, oh no, that doesn't feel right, and that doesn't align with who I am or who I want to be. And you know, if you do, you know, say, yeah, no, this is an alternative, you do get the reward for it. I have always seen the fruits of the labor come to fruition there. It's beautiful. Kathy,
Yes.
what message would you like to share to women and young people who are still finding their way in life and career?
Don't let no be an obstacle. You know, no just means that whoever it is that you're talking to may not be ready, or they may not be the right person for you. No means for you to actually dig deep and actually go back and align with your values. And if that's actually the right thing for you, then to step forward. You know, it really is to step into your own lane and not the lane that somebody else is telling you to take.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Fabulous. So we've already chatted about how you got involved in Going Against the Grain. You are the leader and called us all to action. So thank you so much, Kathy. I'm so glad that I got to interview you about your chapter, and I'm going to invite Nicole Hague down to chat about her chapter.
Thank
Nicole,
you.
Thanks, Kathy. Can I get you to unmute? There we go. Hello and welcome, Nicole.
Morning.
Congratulations on being a published author in Going Against the Grain. Can I get you to share with everyone where you're joining us from and a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm in Queensland, Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, and I am a director of Progressive Youth Care and Consultancy. So I look after an organisation that drives to work to provide safe homes for the homeless and most at-risk and vulnerable children within the streets of Brisbane.
Yeah, it's powerful work that you do, Nicole, and I hope that you get the credit that you so deserve, because what you do is not for the faint-hearted. It takes true courage and strength to be there on that front line and helping at that stage, and holding out that hand and gifting that hope to people that they can aspire to more, and it's okay to show the way a little. I think your work is absolutely amazing, so thank you for all that you do. Did you ever think you would co-author a book, Nicole?
Oh gosh, no. No, I've always ranted. I know I go off on my rants quite often. And it wasn't until I met Kathy that she actually I guess taught me self-reflection, I guess, to look at what I was saying in that moment and to actually take note and collect what I was saying. But no, I did not ever think I'd be putting those rants into a book. I've spent a lifetime of ranting, and yeah, I didn't realize that as many people were listening until Kathy pointed that out.
Yeah, absolutely, and how important it is. So I'm glad that that you showed up and shared. So thank you so much. Can you share with us one or two insights from your story, for everyone to get a bit of an insight into your story?
Yeah, I think for me it was more about, I've always been a person to, I guess I was a difficult child. My parents would deem me, I was argumentative. I've always been one to question certain things when it didn't feel right. So I've always had a gut, a sense of gut, I guess, or gut instinct. And I've always used that, I guess, to drive a lot of my curiosity and wonderment from a child into an adult. So from a very young adult and a very young mother, I've become a foster mum of some quite complex young children. And it was in that I evolved, I guess, and I started to find myself asking questions and wanting to challenge the systems in which we operate within Queensland and New South Wales on how we apply care and the models of care and the needs to our children, and how it lost authenticity, I guess, and the organic stuff and the realism of family in which most of us get to grow up in. So once I started to challenge that, I found that I was opposed stronger and stronger by, when you challenge policy, it's not always appreciated and you're met with a lot of resistance. So, and they can be lonely paths sometimes when you feel like you're fighting on your own. So I think for me, it was about, just finding that path, but I've never been one to shut up. If it didn't feel right, I've continued to raise that question, regardless of the annoyance. So for me, that is, I think it's just a matter of, once I realised if I started to ask the questions, there would be people not necessarily support me up front, but definitely come in behind and let me know that my thinking is not so on my own, that there's a lot of people behind me, just not so many as, I guess, blatant as me, as to bring it up at the table. So I'm one to have those hard conversations with people and bring the topics up that we need to address to make the change, and change is only going to come about by us pushing those buttons and looking at the fact that what we're doing now is not working.
Absolutely. And that courage and perseverance that you had as a child has come with you through into, the work that you do now, and is making a real difference. So huge kudos to you, because it takes a very special person to be able to stand up and be that leader in that space. So amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
What message would you like to share to women and young people who are finding their way in life and career, Nicole?
To trust that gut, to follow their instincts, regardless that it may not make sense at the time. But in those times, I honestly believe the universe will give you what you need to get to that end goal, even if it's not in sight. You've just got to keep going. If it doesn't sit right, keep pushing forward. There's a reason there's a resistance there, and it's generally because we need to push through to bring about that change. So it was, for me, I was very vulnerable at the time of meeting Kathy, and I almost wanted to walk away. If, without her reflection, to have a look and keep going, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. But just to trust that you'll be given the skills, and you have the skill sets within yourself. You're challenged, but the universe doesn't put anything in front of you that you are not capable of managing.
Amazing. And it's okay that when people come, that you can lean on for support to get you through those times, and that's okay. The universe also provides those killers around you to support you and keep you moving forward, because the end goal is so much more. Amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just because it's in policy doesn't mean it's right. Many of our policies in Queensland, in Australia, actually worldwide, I think have been written years ago back. Some of them date back to the 1900s, and they're still applied today. And we need to really have a look at the philosophies and the principles that we're putting. Our therapies, our models of care, everything like that are changing, yet our mandates, our regulations and our legislations that dictate how we deliver these services don't change. They seem to be stuck. So we need to push forward, we need to present change, and we need to ask, that we really have a real look at this and be flexible. Everyone's different. We all have different needs, and there's never going to be one family or one child that's going to fit into the one box. We need to be able to adapt to meet their needs and help them out.
I have to clap for that. Amazing. So just to finish off, how did you get involved in going against the grain? Did Kathy wave you nice and easily? Did you say yes straight away? Tell me what that was for you.
No, Kathy was, she was a blessing. So she is a blessing. She remains to be a blessing. So she's still involved. I'm involved with Kathy. She coaches my agency. She coaches, manages my staff. I met Kathy when I put out. I was in a really low place, a very dark place. As I said before, where I felt that I needed to walk away, and that I wasn't quite sure that I could do it. So I did put out a call on a public website requesting for support or advice, I guess, just putting out my vulnerability. I was very vulnerable. I didn't know whether each morning I was waking up and whether I was going to be able to keep going. So I had 35 different people around me that relied on me for their job, but I was constantly facing resistance, and that chipped away at my self-esteem, and I was really questioning whether or not I was in the right place. So I put out a call, and someone recommended Kathy, and I reached out to her, and the rest is history. She has listened to my many rants, my many stories of frustrations, and she's always managed to help me, have that conversation with myself and reflect, and look at what I'm being presented with at the time, and how I can move forward in a way that's positive, that's going to bring about the change, as opposed to walking away and accepting that it is what it is.
Amazing, amazing. And thank you so much for showing up and sharing your story, Nicole. Amazing. And guys, you want to read Nicole's story and everybody else's story, you need to go and get yourself a copy of look at in front of me there, Going Against the Grain. Okay, guys. Thank you so much, Nicole. It's been amazing to get to know you better. I am sure that our watchers and readers and listeners, it will ignite something within them. So thank you for showing up and sharing.
No, thank you. My pleasure.
Wonderful.
I'm going to step in.
Yeah,
I'm going to step in. I'm going to step in, because guess what? We need to hear your story. You don't get away, just by sitting behind interviewing everyone. So are you ready to be in the hot seat, Karen?
I'm forever ready, Kathy. Go for it.
So we know that you've written many books, but what was the actual calling that really actually resonated for you with this book?
It was the title and the essence. I knew what the essence of this book was about. And so Going Against the Grain, and the subtitle we've got is Giving Yourself Permission and Showing Others That They Can Too. That's what I'm all about. So I do everything the other way than what conventions say that we should, because I always say a different way of doing things, either more efficiently or just differently, so that it's more, the journey's more appealing to me personally. So I tend to go that way, and if people want to come along for the ride, they're very welcome. That's how we go.
So Karen, I think one of the things, and I'm going to sort of digress, but maybe talk a little bit about who you are and how you might actually encourage people to write their own story, because that's your place of genius, right? Yeah. So I think people do feel vulnerable, when it comes to actually being seen. So maybe you can actually share a little bit of insight, about how that's actually going to help them and what you might be able to do, because that's what you do for work.
It's my superpower. And I'm going to just share, I wrote a story, a novel back in 2010 called The Visitor, that entwined my a personal experience that I had. So when we write our story, we don't have to write everything. We can just write on a theme, and if we're, we don't have to write everything. We just share what we want to share with our readers at that time. And I will admit and say that when I started the process, I started thinking, wow, imagine if this goes out into the world. I'm going to be sharing about people that are around me, and it was kind of being very exposing. So I dealt with those inhibitions straight away. One of the things that happened was that book, even though it did share it was about an interesting time in my life. The story was very powerful. It actually, when it reached the people who needed to read it, it ignited something within them that made their life better. And for example, this is just one example of thousands that have happened since 2010, was that somebody read the book. It was about when I had a double miscarriage, and I never dealt with it emotionally, because I didn't have the answer my heart longed for, but I had an epiphany about why it happened. And so I felt compelled to write about it. And I think it's an Irish thing, because when somebody in our community or in our home, or anyone that, is in our circle, is suffering, we connect and we share a story that we hope resonates, gives them hope and makes them feel better. And that's just a thing that's how I grew up a park in Clonus in Ireland. And if somebody was suffering, everybody would come and hang out and, and be there as a support. So, and share stories, and stories were that uplifting thing. So that's why I'm really, I can still remember it in my head. So stories are very important to me, for people as catalysts for change and hope and igniting something within them. So whether it's, it's not just all about healing. I wrote that book and it healed something within me and it released something from within me, and I could see things clearer. I felt less burdened by the pain that I had, and I just showed up and shared what was in my heart. And so I kept doing that, and my words were reaching people, and whenever people that I knew would actually sit and write out something, they actually felt lighter as well. And so I researched it a little bit, and scientifically, when you sit down and write something out, you're actually taking it out of you and on making it a tangible thing you can work with. So it's actually biologically more beneficial for your body whenever something's not to actually write it out. Whether you publish it in a book or not is it's up to you. But the actual physical action of writing your story. So some people have a very big block. I have had a very big block about, writing a novel, 50,000 words, like blew my mind. How the hell would I write 50,000 words? But when you break it down into 1,667 words a day for a month, that's doable. And that's what I did for my first novel, but also just writing a blog or something like that, it just, you just make it work for you and do it your way, whatever works for you in your current circumstances. When I wrote my first novel, I just had my 4th child. I was breastfeeding her and I typed it out with my other hand, but I had that passion to share and connect. And that's what drove me forward. So there you go.
Yeah, thank you. And without actually sharing too much within the book, and I know that this time you've actually written something very different to what you have written in the past. What's something that you might want to actually share with our future generation that's actually in that book, or perhaps just a general message?
Yeah, I just, my story was different. And when I put my hand up to be part of anthologies, and I think this is my 16th or 17th anthology that I'm part of, and I never know what's going to share until I sit down in the energy of the book and know what's going to come out. And I actually shared a story from like 20 years ago when I was a single mom and I was working I always ended up as the boss, as a supervisor, as, some manager or something in every position I ended up in. So I always had leadership qualities. So I was in a job where I was earning lots of money and really secure, but it was going against my values because I was having to lift my son. It was shift work, and he was started school, and I was having to lift him out of his nice warm bed in the morning, bring him out to my mother's who was minding him, or pick him up late at night and bring him. It was just going against those values. So I made the courageous decision to go back to school, and I went in, done a humanities diploma, and I left that job. Now that was a sliding doors moment in my life. I could have stayed in the comfort of that job like many people in the town of Clones did, and were in those jobs for lifetimes because it was good money, things like that. You had that security, but I chose to go against the grain in that moment, and that moment changed it was a big catalyst in changing the trajectory of my life. And I've had many sliding door moments, but one thing that was in that was I never questioned it. I just knew that it was the next step because I was unsettled within myself. I knew that it was going against my values. It wasn't what I wanted for myself and my son, to be lifting him out of bed. He was only just started school. It was going to happen every week, every day throughout his school life. So I just wasn't prepared to do that. And so I sought an alternative, and it worked. I ended up working a few part-time jobs, but it all worked, you know what I mean? It all happened. We survived. We've had a beautiful life, so and it led me to where I am today. So just having that courage and confidence in your decision making process, and when something presents itself to you, you go, okay, let's consider this, and if it's right, then it'll feel like the next right step.
Yeah, I think you sharing that that reality piece of, having that comfort and the security of staying in a job that's paying well, is real today. So a lot of kids, a lot of even adults will actually be able to relate to that, making that transition, even though there's perhaps this dichotomy that's happening within them, they're still thinking, I need that security, but it's not aligning with me. So that's such a strong message, and it is absolutely about going against the grain. But what you've said is you've dug deep and you've really listened to your values, Karen, and so you've taken that risk and believed in yourself. So that's such a powerful message. So
one of the things that's really important for me to share with people, Kathy, is you can have infinite success. You can make anything happen in your life. And believe me, I have pushed the boundaries of all types of things that I want to happen in my life, and have had amazing experiences and wonderful things, because life is an adventure and it's individual. It's what you want to get out of life and experience in life. And like, I'm 44 years of age now, and I've had so many experiences in my life, many lifetimes. Some people may not have had them, but one thing I've never compromised is my values. And so success is with that. Also, happiness is there, because you've never felt that you've compromised any of yourself. So when you go on the journey to you set a goal or set an intention, and you go on that journey, because it's hard work and you have to show up and you have to put a lot of energy in, but the journey and the destination is just so much more fulfilling, because you haven't had to compromise any of yourself on the journey. And that's what I want to share with people, is when you set goals and ambitions aligned with your values, you don't feel like you've had to compromise any of yourself. So go for it. Go for it. I do it, and I'm a mom of 6 children, and it's school holidays here now. We go and hang out at the beach, or we're just hanging around the home and having pajama days, and things like that. But still, I still show up when needed, but albeit in a different mindset, because I'm in cruise control at the moment. But then there's times where I really work hard, but that's what works for me. And you got to find what works for you and honor that. And there'll be ebbs and flows in that. As I think Gabby was talking about, there's different cycles in life, and go with it, and enjoy it. It's for enjoying.
It's funny. I think the one thing that actually comes through with everyone in, as a co-author, is that values. And I know that whenever I actually, do any work with anybody, the one thing that I'm actually really clear about is that, my values are this. People are actually going to be at the center of everything that I do. And I'm really clear around my boundaries. And so that then means that any decision that I make that's in between can actually be fluid, because I'm so clear around my boundaries and I know exactly what my values are. Then, that agility that everybody talks about is really easy. Those obstacles are really easy to navigate against, because where your no-go zone is. And that, hey, I'm not compromising this. And, that's for each of the authors here today and yesterday. I'm really grateful for each of you walking into my life and crossing my path, because you've actually helped shape me who, be the person that I am, and reinforce that, hey, yes, I'm on the right track too. So I think, even though we may not all know each other yet, and I'll use the word yet, there is that common baseline, that commonality that we all share. So yes, I wanted to share that with you. And Karen, departing words for you. Anybody who's actually thinking, no, I can't possibly do this, what would you like to say to them?
If you want to do it, where there's a will, there's a way. Honestly, my calling in life is to help stories get told. And I also, through my own authorship, I'm the author of 40 books, and that's not including 17 anthologies. They're of my own books, and I'm a busy mom as well, and I own 3 publishing houses. So where there's a will, there's a way. And when your words connect, wait till you see, and even how you see your own self develop when you share your story. Every single book and every single contribution to a book will bring you on a journey and bring you to a really higher realm. I know that Gabby talked about the higher vibration. Doing that and sharing your story raises your vibration. and it's really worth the effort that you put in. And if you have any inhibitions around that about self-worth or about believing in yourself that you can actually do it, you know, I really did not like English at school. I was really not good at it. But yet I've authored so many books because editors are fabulous. But an editor can't write the story that you can share. You are the only one who can share your story. No one else can. And it's something that you do authentically. And it's like a fingerprint. It can't be replicated because only you have lived and only you have your perspective and your experiences fused together to share your story. So honor it.
Thank you. Thank you to each of you ladies, you know, here today and yesterday. Thank you for being part of my journey with Going Against the Grain, but more importantly, for actually paying things forward with Raise the Baseline. It has certainly actually created a path that, for me, this is a global path. You know, you're all contributing to that impact for that one child, those hundreds of children. So I'm very grateful.
This is the birth of the book out into the world. Ladies, please unmute and come and join us. This is absolutely the birth of the book out into the world. And so that's why it's so such a special experience, and for it to be so much more than a book, for it making a difference in people's lives. So please go and share in your community, share this, share the links, and get everyone, because honestly, this book will ignite something within every reader. I'm very confident in saying that. Thank you to all of our attendees for joining us. Thank you to everyone on Facebook for joining us. Pop below and see the link and the Going Against the Grain designated page where you can go and get your copy today. And please share your selfies, which is you with the book. If you spot it in a bookstore, take a selfie, send it to us, and please leave your reviews or let us know if this ignited something in you, if this changed your life. We want to hear about it and we want to join you on that journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And we'll take a photo.
Yes, we will. I'm going to say bye to Facebook now.
Yep.
Bye, Facebook.